What is going on, guys? It is your fellow TDefton here, back with another video on Warframe, as always. Anyway, so today I've got a little bit of an informative video for you. I want to tell you or teach you about a focus tree. Yes, today's focus tree in question, not really sure about because this is a pre-recorded video, but I just want to let you guys know that today we are going to be focusing on a focus tree. And I, from now on, will be going over each and every focus tree in depth, having you guys understand exactly what each focus tree does, what each node is for, how much each node gives you in terms of stats and stuff like that, just so that you guys have a better understanding of exactly what everything is and what tree you should go for, and if you're going for a specific tree, what node you should go for, what's worth your time. So that is what these videos are going to be for. Now, before I actually get into the focus tree of the day, I do want to have you understand what exactly each of the Tenno abilities are, what they're called, what they're used for, etc., etc. So let me go ahead and get into that, and then we'll get into the focus tree. Okay, so today we're going to be going over the different focus abilities of the operator, and there are 4 in question. Well, technically 3, but really 4 if you want to consider your Void Beam another ability. But I'll get into that a little bit later. So the first ability that you have as your Tenno is actually going to be Void Dash. In order to use Void Dash, all you have to do is hold down Control or whatever your crouch key is, and then press Space or whatever your jump key is, and then it will dash you forward, and it will consume a little bit of energy as you do so. The next ability we have is actually going to be called Void Blast, and that is a melee attack done by your operator. So if you go ahead and tap E, what this attack does is it actually knocks down and ragdolls enemies when you are around them. And the last ability would, well, if you want to consider it the last ability, would actually be Void Mode, which is literally just holding down crouch. What this allows you to do is be invisible to enemies and also not receive any damage whatsoever. So you are immune to damage when you are in Void Mode. You have to be careful because it does consume energy, and depending on the school you use, it could consume even more energy, and that goes for any of the abilities. Now, the last thing that the operator can do, I'm not really sure if you want to consider it an ability, but it is something the operator can do, so I guess we'll consider it an ability. Basically, it is your Void, laser, your Void Beam, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You hold down your shoot key, and then it fires off a laser. The reason why mine is semi-automatic is because I have a separate amp. I will talk about amps in another video, in the Quills video, so make sure you look out for that. But just know that when you press your left mouse button, or whatever your fire button is, it will shoot off a laser that will damage enemies. Alright guys, so today what we are going to do is actually talk about the Zenurik focus tree. And all of you guys know this focus tree as the energy hub, I guess you could say. It's literally the tree that's focused on energy efficiency and using your energy to your advantage. So let's get right into this focus tree. Why is my operator walking like that? So as we did before, we are actually going to be going through the passives first, and then we are going to go over to the actives. So let's obviously start off with the center of it all, Energy Pulse. So I'm going to do something a little bit different from what I did with the last video. I am actually going to leave something up on the side of the screen, basically showing you exactly what you get from these, and I am going to just talk through exactly what I think these things can be useful for. So if you want to see the exact upgrade pattern, you can just look in the lower right hand corner of the video. You should see something pop up with every single perk that I do, but beyond that, I will be just talking about my opinions on them, what I think would be good, and I will give the base and the final version of the perks. So let's get right into this. Energy Pulse is the first perk that we have. It's the first thing that you unlock. In order to actually continue on with the tree, you have to unlock Energy Pulse first. There's no way around it. Also, you cannot go anywhere past Energy Pulse if you have not completed the prerequisites for becoming an Eidolon Hunter. So if you don't know how to become an Eidolon Hunter, make sure you check out my Quills video. It explains everything in there, because that's what you need to do. Okay, so for Energy Pulse, the first rank gives you 25% energy, additional energy over 10 seconds, and the last rank gives you 50% additional energy over 5 seconds. And you can see all the values down there in the lower right hand corner, like I said before. A couple things I want to mention is that it does allow you to stack the energy regeneration with multiple energy orb pickups. So if you pick up like 7 energy orbs, it will stack on itself, if that makes sense. Another thing is, energy is not regenerated while using channeled abilities. Like, it's like that with anything, right? So let's say you're using what's her name, Nyx's Absorb, right? You won't be getting energy regeneration while you're using that ability. That's basically what that means. So this is actually a really cool ability, and it actually does help a lot with missions. It's kind of like a passive thing. I wouldn't really say to level it up all the way unless, you know, you actually really want to, you know, help yourself out. The thing is, it doesn't help with teammates, if that makes sense. So you can't really help teammates with this ability, so keep that in mind. The next ability is Inner Might. Now, Inner Might is for melee channeling, and I've been talking about this for a while with a bunch of other content creators and also people in my Discord. And to be honest, I think that energy channeling or melee channeling is not good. I mean, let me just give you the values here. It's actually a pretty decent, you know, extra thing. You know what I mean? It's something extra you could throw on there, but I'll talk about my personal opinion on melee channeling after. Rank 1, it gives you, or rank 0, I should say, whatever that first initial rank is, it gives you 10% additional melee channeling efficiency. And then the last rank, it gives you 60% additional melee channeling efficiency. And you can check down below, right there in that lower right corner to see the info on that. With this, I actually think melee channeling should be something that is looked at by DE, because right now it's completely useless. But I think that it would be really cool if it weren't. You know what I mean? Like, I think it would be really cool if they could balance it somehow so that there are some weapons that have more melee channeling damage than others and stuff like that. Until that happens, I don't really see too much of a point in using this unless you have a really good Riven for a melee weapon. And, you know, melee channeling and efficiency is like, channeling damage and efficiency is like off the charts or something like that. Then I would say maybe this would be a good perk to invest in, but other than that, probably not the best thing to invest in. The next thing is Void Siphon. With Void Siphon, it actually increases your operator's energy regeneration, and this is also a way-bound perk. So this is a perk when you actually unlock it fully. It allows it to be used in any tree. So you can tell I have a bunch of way-bound perks over here. I only have 3 left. 3 way-bound perks to unlock. Void Siphon is one of them. So what Void Siphon does is it increases your your operator's energy regeneration by a certain amount. Rank 1, it increases it by 15%, and rank what is that? 6, 7, 6. Rank 6, it increases it by 90%, which is actually really good. I would really suggest getting these. Both of these way-bound perks. I'm gonna get into Void Flow in a minute. I'd suggest getting both of these if you want to make your operator really good in combat. You're going to want to have that extra energy regeneration. By the way, this is the energy regeneration for all of this. This is the energy pool. This has to do with the energy pool for the regular, like, operator pool. The regular operator energy. The one that is used for Void Dash, the one that is used for Void Blast, and the one that is used for Void Mode. So keep that in mind. The next thing on our list is Void Flow. Void Flow increases your operator's energy by a certain amount. Rank 1, it increases it by 15%, and the last rank, it increases it by 90%. Now, Void Flow, once again, just like Void Siphon, they go hand in hand together. You kind of want to get both. The Void Flow is actually really helpful. With Void Dashes, it actually allows you to dash 6 times. rather than the original 4. So that's something that's really useful. Along with Void Siphon, with that extra energy regeneration, it basically regenerates the same amount of time that it would if you had, you know, the base values, right? So if you didn't have Void Flow or Void Siphon, and you were to regenerate your energy, it basically takes the same amount of time to regenerate that energy as it does with Void Siphon and Void Flow equipped both at the same time, because they're both increasing by the same amount, right? So, you know, ratio wise it's the same thing. If you're going to get Void Siphon, I highly recommend you go for Void Flow as well. It will make your life so much better, and your operator will be blasting away with his or her abilities. As I said, you could Void Dash 6 times, and all the other abilities, you could use them a bunch. I actually haven't timed Void Mode, but I'm telling you, it lasts for a long time. If I had to make an estimation, I'd probably say about a minute to a minute and a half. That's how long you could stay in there. That's just my intuition, but to be honest, I don't have the exact value. Beyond that, let's go ahead and keep on going with this list. Let's move on to the active perks. Okay, first up on the list is Energizing Dash. You guys all know this perk. If you guys have invested anything in Zenurik, you already know what I'm talking about, but let's just talk about it anyway for those of you who have not. So, Void Dash basically creates a zone of energy. It creates an energy bubble that allows you or your allies to actually get affected by this ability, and it gives you energy regeneration for a certain amount of time. At rank 1, it creates a zone of energy for 4 seconds that any allies, including your own Warframe or other operators, gain 3 energy per second for 10 seconds. Now, that is like really good, and when you max it, it is actually it creates a zone for 8 seconds that allies passing through it gain 5 energy per second for 30 seconds. Now, it's absolutely insane. Like, it's really good, especially if you're in long runs and you don't want to place down a bunch of energy pads or whatever. If you have a teammate who can blast this out a lot and they're really good with their operator, this is a very good ability to have. It's a very good teammate to have on your team. So make sure you get this, make sure you max it out, because you know, you never know when you're gonna need it. Another thing I want to mention is operators actually gain double the energy. So for a Warframe, which would gain 5 energy per second, the operator actually gains 10 energy per second. So it's a lot. The next ability on this list is Lightning Dash. Now, what this does is it replaces your Void Dash. Well, it doesn't replace it. It adds something to it. So it still displaces enemies, but what it also does is it creates a lightning ball that travels. So at rank 1, it zaps enemies within 4 meters for 200 damage, and then when it's maxed, it's 16 meters, so that's a really big radius, right? And then it also does 800 damage. So imagine mixing Void Flow, Void Siphon, and Lightning Dash. You can dash up to 6 times max, 6 times, and then well, one thing you also have to mention, or one thing I also have to mention, is that you can only have 3 lightning balls active at once. But if you mix in Void Flow, Void Siphon, and Lightning Dash, you could dash up to 3 times, bang those like Void or Lightning Dashes out, and get those lightning balls out there, and it does a lot of damage. It does a lot of damage over time. So the next ability is Temporal Blast. What Temporal Blast does is it changes your Void Blast, so it slows enemies by a certain amount for a certain amount of seconds. So at rank 1, it slows your enemies by 20% for 4 seconds, and at its max rank, it does 80% for 15 seconds. This is a very good ability, amazing for CC. You can imagine how this can be very useful. Now, pairing this with the passive perk for Unairu, if I go over there and check it out right now, Basilic Gaze, that would be very good, because then you can get more enemies within the radius of your Void Blast, so keep that in mind. The next ability is Voltaic Blast. So Voltaic Blast, basically what this does is it changes up your Void Blast, so it actually does a shock. It does like a shock wave. So rank 1, it affects 4 meters for 100% of the damage of your Void Blast, And then for the max rank, it does 10 meters for 200% of the damage of your Void Blast. So you want to keep that in mind. This can actually be a pretty good ability as well. Once again, really good for CC. That's really the main thing that I can see coming out of this. The next ability is Void Static. What Void Static does is Void Mode, which is you turning invisible, emits a pulse that deals 200 damage over 8 meters and costs an additional 2 energy. That is 2 energy per second, and that is at base. Basically what that means is you go into Void Mode, it deals a certain amount of damage over a certain range, and it costs additional energy. Now when you max this, it does 500 damage per second over 15 meters, and it does only 1 energy per second, an additional 1 energy per second. This is really, really good, but one thing you have to mention, or one thing that I have to mention, one thing you have to notice is that it doesn't actually trigger an electric proc. It does not require line of sight, so you do not need to be in the same room as them. It can affect enemies outside of the room that you're currently in. It will target anything that the game treats as an enemy, including wildlife, corpus, security cameras, but not Grineer sensor bars. So you can use it in certain situations. It might even hit some crates as well, so that could be kind of useful for that. And it will also damage Grineer sensor regulators and set off the alarms, making it unsuitable for Grineer spy missions. So you probably don't want to equip Zenurik for Void spy missions. Probably doesn't make too much sense, right? Okay, so the last thing is Void Singularity. This is actually a really interesting ability. I have not really seen anybody use it, but I think it could be useful. What it does is what a singularity does. It just sucks in everything. Everything kind of goes towards the middle, right? It does this for a certain amount of meters, and it drains extra energy. So at base, or rank 1, it does 10 meters, or it takes 10 meters, and it drains an additional 2 energy per second. And then at max rank, it is 20 meters for an additional 3 energy per second. What I notice is kind of weird about this is the fact that rank, for some of these, when you rank them up to max, it actually lowers the energy drain. Like Void Static, it actually lowered the energy drain when you maxed it, but with this it actually raises it. So I don't really know why, but anyway, I mean, it could be useful for, like, if you don't have a Valbin, let's say, and you want to drag enemies into like one area and, you know, have it so that your teammates can basically just mow them all down, you know what I mean? That could be useful. That could really be the only use that I see with Void Singularity. But if anybody has any other ideas, I mean, please let me know. It could be useful in Eidolon fights, maybe, instead of using your Itzel, you can use this, possibly. That could really be the only other use that I can think of. But if anybody else has any other uses, please let me know in the comments, and I'll, you know, I'll say, hey, you know, this is what it is. So that is the Zenurik tree. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned something from this video. If you did, please go ahead and let me know in the comments. If you have any other, like, suggestions, or if you have any more comments about the Zenurik tree, any more ideas of what you can do with certain perks, let me know in the comments as well. Maybe you'll enlighten some other people in the comments. Maybe they'll, you know, they'll start putting things together, right? But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy. I will be coming out with more. I already have Vazarin out, so if you do want to check out what the Vazarin tree is like, please go ahead and check out that video. But I have videos lined up for all the other trees as well, so check those out when they drop. I hope you guys did enjoy, like I said before. If you did, please go ahead and leave a like. As I said before, leave a comment if you have any comments that you want to leave. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.